It is now your duty to determine within the limits prescribed by law the penalty which shall be imposed as punishment for these offenses. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the statutory aggravating circumstance or circumstances so listed above outweigh any mitigating circumstances. Therefore, we, the jury, unanimously find that the punishment for the defendant, Jessie Dotson, shall be death. It is signed by all 12 jurors. Again, as a 13th juror, I concur in and accept the verdicts of the jury as proper. Mr. Dotson, would you stand, please? Jessie Dotson, after trial by a jury of your peers, the jury having found you guilty of murder in the first degree of Cecil Dotson Sr., of Marissa Williams, Hollis Seals, of Shindry Roberson, of Cecil Dotson Jr. II, and of Samario Dotson. And further, the jury having imposed a sentence of death upon you, it's the order of this court that you be taken by the sheriff and remanded to jail, and at the earliest convenience that you be delivered to the warden of the state penitentiary, therein to be confined until March the 2nd of 2012. And on that day that you receive a lethal injection of drugs based upon the laws of the state of Tennessee, sufficient to cause your death. May God have mercy on your soul, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you would step back to your jury.
Look at this case, everything he did, leaving those, his family members in a house for 40 hours and not calling anyone is just not believable. And that's the actions of a killer, not somebody who just witnessed something. And I knew I could bring that out in him. It was a risk, but I felt that in my mind, when I got up that morning, I knew I was going to cross them. And I thought to myself, it's always a risk if you try to go after a defendant because they're trying to make them look sympathetic. If you know on direct, it's yes, sir, no, sir, and they tell them to stay calm. But I thought, if he's the individual that sliced up children with kitchen knives, there's something inside him that he can't control and turn off, and I knew that I could get there, and that's why I got close to him and then would walk away, and then I got close to him and I kept staring him in the eyes when I did it, and he got upset and couldn't focus on the rehearsed testimony.
Under the circumstances of this case where you have mass murder, all these people killed, women, children, the worst of the worst, and I think that any jury, more than likely, I think would come back like this jury with these facts.
He was trying to send a message to the jury by changing clothes.
He just lost interest. After you get convicted of 6 counts of first-degree murder, at that point I think he was done with the process. I don't think he really cared whether it came back death or not, and that's why he got out of his clothes. Initially, he wasn't going to come out at all.
Just his whole thing was he did not want to go back to jail. And, that was part of our proof that he did this. Once he killed his brother Cecil, then he's got witnesses. He didn't want to go back to jail. So once he was convicted, he knew he was going back to jail regardless of what the sentence the jury came back with, and he knew he'd never get out.
After I crossed him, he, kind of got a little attitude with me, and then even clapped after my, my rebuttal argument, showing again that he's just, in my view, somebody that's missing something inside. He's still a human being, but there's something that's not there. In this trial, I never focused on Jessie Dotson. What I focused on was the victims in this case. And I commend the Memphis Police Department. You may not air this, but it needs to be said. They did a phenomenal job in this case, and they got attacked, of course, which is something the defense has to do in a case. But those men and women that had to become a part of this case, and those men, paramedics and stuff that saw what was inside that house, some of them still have not recovered. Some of them are in counseling, and you're talking about paramedics who go to car accidents and everything. And these police officers wanted to get the individual or individuals responsible, and they worked hard to make that happen.
Can you imagine being in a tub in a house full of dead bodies, decomposing with a knife blade in your head for 40 hours, not knowing what's going to happen to you? So I see CJ, we talk to CJ now, and we probably will keep that contact. So, yeah, it's affected us, and particularly so because we still have living victims. If you could meet CJ and know what he is and what he's been through and how he deals with life, I mean, it's an inspiration to anybody.
These kids can't be forgotten, and you guys need to be a part of that, because the survival story of these children, it's not just local news. I mean, maybe a lot of people don't know about it in the world, but can you imagine what they went through? This is a miracle story, what they went through. A 2-month-old laying next to her dead parents for 40 hours in a house of death is just mind-boggling, and this community cannot forget these kids just because this case is over. And I told my wife, now that it's over, I'm going to go take them out to eat, and I'm going to make sure they're doing well in school. And the community needs to embrace these children, because what happened to them, you don't know what day they're going to wake up and it's going to affect them. They're going to have trauma, and they're going to need assistance from all the adults and people who care in this community. So do not forget these children because this case is over.